Hi, everyone. We're back with Kathy Beal, the award-winning astrologer at empowermentunlimited.net. And we are on the tail end of the new moon in Cancer that just happened yesterday, July 17th, at around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before we got interrupted by technical issues, we were talking about the effect of this new moon in Cancer that to me feels very tumultuous, unusually so for a new moon. New moons are really intense, usually, sometimes more than a full moon. But this one kind of bowled me over. So we were talking about that, family stuff coming up with the moon in Cancer. All is well, just things that needed to be attended to. But what I was talking about before we had technical issues was that I'm not a person that is, clearly I'm sensitive because I work as a psychic, but I'm not really bowled over by my emotions that much. But today was exceptionally notable in terms of, man, I feel like I just can't reel it in. And I was talking about having a meditation practice and how important that is during these times to have a way that we can remove ourselves from the chaotic energy. Even if it looks like there's not a lot going on around you, you can still pick up on it. So with this new moon in Cancer energy, I was asking Kathy what else was going on because it felt like a whole lot more than a new moon. So with that in mind, what's going on, Kathy? And by the way, tell us a little bit about the award you just won.
I won 2 awards from in a ceremony that was sponsored by Om Times Media. One of them was as a broadcaster for my radio show, Celestial Compass, which is on Om Times Radio. And the other was this is the first time that they have given individual awards. They call their awards the Omis and Omiwood. They're trying to honor luminary thought leaders in the spiritual, conscious, and holistic community. So I won Best Astrologer, and it's the first time they've given them, and there are like really big publishers who are allied with them for the book awards, and I understand it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So this may end up being a very nice little coup. I've been working with Om Times for a long, long time. My forecasts are cross-posted there.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, you always have another item in your bag of tricks and talents
Yeah.
and.
Oh yeah, so many. It's very so. About this week.
What's going on?
This is everything in this week. Everything in a nice way and in a really uncomfortable way is pushing us to put ourselves first. To put ourselves first in a really healthy way. And sometimes getting that message can be a really awful feeling because sometimes you can have situations and go, this feels icky. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I don't want to do this anymore with this new moon. Now, this new moon has a bunch of influences around it that are going to play out over a long period of time. And they're very motivating and they will take us through the next election cycle into early 2025, and they're setting off and activating and amplifying a huge firecracker that went off in everybody at the solar eclipse that was the Aries new moon at the end of April. And I'll explain why in a second. There's an awful lot of energy in the cardinal signs, which get things going. They don't have the staying power so much, but they get things going. So Cancer is a cardinal sign. It's the beginning of the water signs. I call it mommy moon. Everything about it is sublingual. It is cellular. It's stuff that you sometimes have trouble even putting words to. It's how you feel safe and secure, how you nurture, how you receive nurturing, what you do with your home, the family that's in your head, all in the family that you actually do have around you, all of those things. Okay, so we had discussed there's one really potentially beautiful influence pouring into this, and that is an unbroken flow from Dreamweaver Neptune, which can be adding a bittersweet, nostalgic, sentimental streak to it. It's pouring in creativity, and you've been saying that suddenly you have this
Yeah, I
Got it
feel a
right.
wave of songwriting coming, and to go back and to rewrite some things, and actually, yeah, I had a show on Saturday night that's here on my channel, and after that show I went, geez, I really just need to make the
Mm-hmm.
commitment to do this. It feels really important. One of the topics on the Psychic News Network last night was I think I talked for a half an hour about the need for creatives, the need for the artists to step out, and I talked a lot about the Hollywood, the strikes in
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, the writer strikes, and now the actor strikes, and how I have a sense that the whole thing is going to be dismantled. And I
And that
use
that
the
fits
analogy.
numerology.
Yeah, I use the analogy too, I compared it to the music industry collapse in Nashville, right around 2006, 7, 8, right around that time, where publishing companies just closed the doors and record labels failed, and it was a little bit, it was disconcerting. A lot of people lost their jobs and had nowhere to go, and that's going to happen too. But I feel like what we're going to see a lot of is people from those creative industries coming together in a brand new way. So do you see that too?
Webcasts and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's something coming at the end of the week that speaks to this, but I want to wait till
Okay.
I discuss that particular influence. So we've got all this stuff pouring in, and I will encourage people to not just express their own creativity, but it's okay to be fallow. It's okay to watch a whole bunch of movies. It's okay to lose yourself in music, whether you're just listening or singing.
Hmm.
It's okay if you feel like I'm just going to go to bed and put the pillow over my head for a couple of hours. I'm going to hug my sock puppy.
When you say
Sock
okay,
puppy time.
yeah. When you say
Sock puppy.
when you say it's okay to do that, do you mean that that's a good use of this energy?
Well, okay. If that is what makes you feel safe, taking a time out like that, I mean, honestly, we do need milk and cookies time
We
right
definitely
now
do. Yeah.
because here's the other stuff going on. One of them is there is an we're really coming to grips with how much our world has changed. There is an intense contact that this moon is making to Pluto, which is realignments of power. It's really big power. It's the scary stuff that's inside of us. It rules
Hmm.
psychobeasties. And in this particular new moon, there's something stirring of, I don't feel good. Something doesn't feel good.
Right.
And recognizing how different the world is and having a lot of drivers that, again, you cannot, it's sublingual. It's below the level of thought. It's going on in your body. It's unconscious. It's feral, and then and that's because Pluto is an agent of unavoidable evolutionary change. But the
Right.
other change agent, Uranus, the guy that throws the lightning bolts, is in an opportunity aspect
Hmm.
to this moon. And this is jolting people into setting things up differently, shaking up how they're running their homes, shaking up how they're getting their needs met, shaking up their relationships to food. One thing I've been thinking of is mothers feeding themselves before they feed their kids. That seems to be something that's going to end up
Right.
being important.
Hmm.
Um, but this is setting something in motion. Like, we don't have to follow the old rules. The world has really changed and things don't feel right. So put yourself first. Uh, Mars, which is, I call the planet of push, it's how we use our drive, is in Virgo, which is a sign of discrimination, getting your hands dirty, getting in and fixing stuff, and looking at how things can be improved. And there are two other influences that play into all of this. One of them is Venus. I call the social director of the skies. Venus is the goddess of creativity. What
Hmm.
were you
That
mentioning?
all
Um,
fits, right?
but also relationships, which is going to be a theme here in a second. And Venus goes retrograde on the 22nd until early September. She goes retrograde in the late degrees of Leo. She's going to set off a whole bunch of people's charts,
Hmm.
bringing things back from the past. When Venus is retrograde, much like with Mercury, ghosts reappear,
Yeah.
people that you haven't thought of in a long time. But with Venus, they're likely people who were really important in your existence. There could be flames, old,
Hmm.
you know, old boyfriends, old girlfriends, old creative pursuits.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get this goofy look in their eyes like, oh, they came back. This means I have to take them. No, it
Don't do
means
it.
no, no, no. It's not an imperative from the cosmos to take old people back into your life, but it is an opportunity in this instance to do self-paced soul retrieval and find parts of yourself. So, a lecture I have been giving in a variety of ways has been use the good stuff for yourself. All of this combines to setting your life up in the here and now. Don't put things off. Wear things that make you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Use your better china or your better dishes, whatever. Dress up. I heard from someone who has moon in Taurus that she actually does gardening in a fur that she inherited, and I just cracked up when that is such a perfect.
And a fur in the summer? In the summer?
I I didn't ask what time of year it was,
Okay.
but and since she's in a state where it is always really warm, I'd be surprised if it's then. But anyway, the point being,
Right.
do it. I mean,
Yeah, don't save the china for the special occasion because right now is a special occasion. Every moment's a
every
special
day,
occasion. Just to backtrack a little bit, you use the
please.
term psycho beasties. Can you define
Yeah.
psycho beasties?
Oh,
I
okay.
hadn't heard that one before.
I made it up. All the little worrying voices inside of you, all the things you're afraid of, all the stuff, your anxieties, phobias, the monsters under your bed, in the closet when you were a kid, the things that just gnaw at you that really are completely non-rational.
So this on a personal level,
Hmm.
next time I'm going to be taking notes while you talk. On a personal level, this means like if somebody from the past comes back for you to kind of re-examine what was going on there. It's a great opportunity to see how far we've come and
Yes.
and to revisit the old traumas and dramas that went on in that particular relationship. Also to see how far you've come. It's a really
Yeah.
good kind of a checkpoint. So that can be positive. I mean, relationships have problems, but if we don't get what we're supposed to learn from the relationship to make our lives better, and that comes from negative experiences. Unfortunately, that's how we grow. But I know that people in general have resistance. I don't want them to come back. I don't want them to come back. But this feels like a really good time for that. And it is an opportunity for transformation. It also feels like, through what you're saying, that we cannot pretend that everything is just going to be the status quo anymore. And I know, just working with people, life coaching especially, this is a really good time for spiritual life coaching if anybody's interested in that. That is what people need that have a hard time with change. A lot of times traumas from the past make people really, kind of hell-bent without realizing it so much of the time on keeping things predictable and the same. And for that, this could be a really jarring time. It's kind of like when COVID, showed up. People kept asking me, when are things going to go back to normal? And I went, never. They're never going back to normal. I mean, my psychic impression is this is it. And we are at a point like that right now, particularly with the issue that everyone needs to be talking about all over the world, global climate change. Because I feel like, and this could be, connected to something astrological, likely it is, we have reached the point of no return. So I'm wondering what's going on with the planets in terms of, do you see the potential for us to come together and to solve this collective, huge existential crisis of a problem on the planet? Is there anything going on that indicates that we've got this?
Well, we are right now. So we're about to go through a massive change in how power is distributed and wielded. We
Mm-hmm.
got a taste of it late in the spring. So we're revisiting the old institutional power issues until the middle of January, as Pluto is in the very end of Capricorn. and then it'll go back into Aquarius for a few months, and then it'll go back into Capricorn for one final time in our lifetime. So over the next year and a half, we'll collectively be experiencing whatever the evolutionary changes are going on with the planet and with climate. And then we have a lot of things hitting a that's it point. As Pluto goes into Aquarius, there is another influence that is happening that's right now, the one that ties to the solar eclipse at the end of April. And I'll just meld that into into our discussion right here, and that is the nodes of the moon have just changed signs. Now, these are mathematical calculations. They have to do with orbits. You can't see them in the sky, but they change sign about every 18 and a half to 19 years, and they also parallel what's going on with eclipses. So the nodes have been in the signs that have to do with our precious baubles, with resources, with who owns what, with investments, Taurus and Scorpio. And yesterday, right after the new moon, they shifted into Aries and Libra. Aries being the way we're going, Libra being old behavior and what we're leaving behind. Aries is me first. Aries is impulsive. I'm just going to do this, being out for myself. Libra is taking everybody into account.
Yeah, that's kind of the opposite, right? They're kind of opposites.
Yeah. They define relationships, because Aries it's I, you, I, the relationship, I, us, or I, we, whatever. And all of this combines with the other things going on to say, we have no choice but to put ourselves first. And that doesn't mean running ramshot all over everybody else. I mean, we can make jokes.
No, that's a whole different thing.
Aries driving a bulldozer over people or a steamroller, and I have seen that, but that's not what this is. Okay, this is a bold, just, I've got to do this for me, and it's leading the way to a huge collective change that will become much clearer in 2 years.
Okay, so how about this? I need to do this for me because it serves the greater good. Does that fit?
I need to do it for me because I need to do it for me. And people being honest with what they need for themselves brings honesty and more, it's more, the word that's coming to me is kind of weird, efficacy in how we deal with other people. Because one thing I have noticed with Libra, which has to do with agreements, and we're certainly seeing agreements being revisited, but all of this is in the power of the individual, freeing up the individual, freeing up the little guy. And that is a parallel to Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is power across the collective rather than a concentration of wealth in the hands of about 11 people who are, steering what the whole planet does. So big...
And I'm seeing a complete collapse of the whole corporate structure. Of course, it's not going to happen immediately, but I feel like we're on the brink of that. You mentioned the end of, was it like April? I think you're referring to the solar eclipse.
Oh, end of April, yeah.
When I was asking about, this collective movement where we can address big issues, you mentioned the end of the, in the spring. Were you referring to the solar eclipse or the Pluto in Aquarius?
Well, actually, they happened around the same time, but the nodes travel backwards. So the nodes are now at 29 degrees Aries, and that solar eclipse was at 29 degrees Aries.
Oh my goodness.
So the north node, which is where we're headed, is now like picking up the baton from that energy and running with it.
Do you think that contributes to a feeling of impatience, being easily agitated? I mean, because that's what I was referring to earlier, was like, whoa, it's time to reel it in. Not that I lash out at people. I just notice it. It's like, oh, you're not really being that peaceful right now. What's going on with that? And then, a meditation practice really helps with that. But the big shift, aside from the new moon in Cancer yesterday, was this node switch.
So right now we have the moon, which is our soft core, in a cardinal sign. The nodes have moved to a cardinal sign, and Pluto is in a cardinal sign, and all of this is action oriented. So it's not just coasting or feeling like you're living out the hangman or something. There are impulses inside of people saying, time to get moving, time to get moving, time to get moving.
So a cardinal, just for people that don't know astrology, and I don't know a lot about astrology, definitely not even, I can't even scratch the surface of what you know. The cardinal as opposed to the fixed and mutable.
Mm-hmm.
What's cardinal? What can people expect with that energy, the cardinal energy?
So Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn are the cardinal signs, and they get things moving in whatever the element is. So Cancer gets emotions moving. Libra gets relationship and sometimes arts issues moving. Capricorn starts marching up the hill. Aries is just, Captain Kirk. Bam, I've jumped. Goodbye, I'm running.
Right. And what keeps repeating in my mind is you can't stop change. Does that fit?
Oh, yeah, it absolutely does.
Gotta go with it.
One thing, I'll put this in context. Pluto is in a really, also, so Pluto's a change agent. It's the big forces. It's the resistance is futile.
Right.
The board coming after
Right.
you. So Pluto is in an action demanding relationship with the nodes right now, all summer, and this echoes the year 1789. Now, Pluto was in a different degree of Aquarius at that time, but it was also squaring the nodes at that time. In 1789, birthed a lot of stuff, our Constitution, democracy in France.
Right.
Treatises on it. So there is ultimately something extremely, the history is really positive stuff has happened.
And that's when we had the birth of the middle class. We had talked about that before. So
yes.
when we sort of transfer that energy that was going on in the late 1700s to now, I'm sensing a similar movement. That's why I said I feel like the corporate structure is just going to start collapsing. It's just not going to work anymore. How much money does a person need? Doesn't it come to a point where it's like, I don't really need anything else, right? These people with holes in their souls that can't be filled with billions upon billions of dollars, I think there's a rude awakening coming. That's my sense. I don't even know what I mean by that. That could look like many different things, the rude awakening. But in France during that time, there was a huge uprising and rebellion. So there's going to be rebellion in some form. I'm feeling.
I'll just point out, you'd mentioned the writers' strike and then the actors joining in. The writers' strike started the day that Pluto moved into Aquarius.
What day was that? I forgot.
Which I thought was fascinating.
That was what day? When was it?
March 23rd. And so Pluto is now retrograde the day that Mars moved into Virgo, which has to do with writing and fixing things.
Mm-hmm.
SAG-AFTRA went on strike.
Wow.
Pluto goes direct on October 10. There has been talk that big studio chiefs are intending to just keep things, not agree to anything, and try to make the writers lose their apartments and their houses and not be able to pay their mortgages and just squeeze people out financially. So that kind of approach would fit with this timing. I'm not saying they're going to get away with it.
Well, when I did a reading on it last night, I saw, I think it was maybe the Eight of Wands. I pulled a card that really just spoke to that they're holding out, pretending like they don't really care. They're just going to, corporate. They're just pretending that's fine. Go ahead and strike. We're not going to be affected. But that's not really what's going on. I feel like there's a knowing that they could lose it all.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But one thing that's coming out, people have these misconceptions about, oh, you're an actor. Oh, you make so much money. No,
Nope.
A lot of
Nope.
information coming out about the reality of people's lives and that how impossible it is to be a middle class person if
Yeah.
you act. And read something that all of the cast members of Orange is the New Black had to keep their second jobs during
Yeah.
the run of the show.
It's unbelievable. And you know, and to just to sort of to take that to the music business, I was expressing that my music is on Spotify, for instance, and I've never seen a cent. And if anybody downloads one of my songs, I'm not joking, I earn 0.08 cents.
Hmm.
That's abuse. I'm not saying, I don't mean to be bashing Spotify. I'm just saying, for example, it's the same across the board, which is when the people lose their motivation to create anything. Because, and that's a huge problem, because if we don't have our artists, if we don't have our autonomous selves expressing what the collective needs expressed to inspire and to motivate, we've pretty much lost our society in so many ways. I'm really
And
passionate about this. That's
Venus retrograde is going to explore this
good.
in a big
Yay.
way.
And you said that's now?
That is from the 22nd of July until September 3rd.
So
And
starting
I'll just clarify one
Saturday.
thing. It isn't necessarily that all your exes are going to physically show up in your face. You could find yourself dreaming about someone. You could hear a song that reminds you of a relationship and going through a bunch of stuff, where you could see a movie and go, "Oh, I remember when." You might see somebody distantly on social media and then run for the hills. Or you might actually really run into someone. I got an early warning signal of that on Saturday. Now, this is what I find so funny. I work out, unbelievably, I work out. I have a personal
What do
trainer
you mean?
who's in her early 20s and is a sweet, absolutely normal person. And she's now been working with me for 2.5 years, and I'm getting to her because I don't hold back. I wear my weird stuff and talk about whatever I feel like talking about, well, mostly. And she had a dream about me a couple of weeks ago and said she had to remember it. And it involved someone from my past. And I went, ooh, Venus retrograde. Someone from my past showing up in the gym and trying to be me and wearing a purple shirt. And then I walked in and she sensed that something was wrong. This person wasn't really talking like me. She didn't think it was me, but it looked like me. And I had two candidates from ancient history, neither of whom live around me. And on Saturday, I'm at a farmer's market, and this woman starts talking to me, and I'm looking at her like, I have no idea who you are. And then gradually I go,
I hate when that happens.
oh my God. And it's someone that I lost a lot of money working
Issues.
with this person.
Wow. Surprised she said
And
hi.
purple was part of the name of her business.
Oh, interesting. So you have a psychic trainer.
I have a psychic trainer sending me messages. I thought, I got to pay attention to this. And I did notice that I was issued invitation after invitation, and I just changed the topic after each one. Like,
Invitation to that.
no, she was physically, you have to see this. You have to come to my place.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks. Well, so it seems like a really good time to like look at what happened and just like if it was an old relationship to just look and go like, what went on there? What was, you know, like what did I learn? Or what's my takeaway from that? Or, you know, what was the good stuff? What was the not so good stuff? Which is extremely helpful.
And okay, so to take it out of the blame area, which it's really easy to get into, this is my Venus and Leo lecture. Anytime there's anything really big going on in Leo, my lecture is
Venus and Leo. Wow. That's big.
Do not try to win over the people who are talking in the front row. Okay. Notice what's going on around you. Notice who's not paying attention to you. Do not waste your precious energy on trying to get their attention. If they don't get you, they're lost. Go someplace else.
Right.
Notice who's fueling your flame. Notice who wants to jump up on stage and dance with you. Notice who makes you feel more alive. Notice who acts more alive when you're around them. And notice who has the water pistol standing at the side of the stage going, trying to knock your, to put your light out, or the bucket of water, even worse, and get the hell away from those people.
Yeah, and that's the risk of going, like with a bigger platform with whatever you're doing. And you just have to kind of roll with it. Yeah.
Ignore them.
It's so on Saturday. On Saturday, the sun goes into Leo. We're gonna segue to what's going on in the political front because I know everybody's dying to know, and we're gonna try to make this. We're gonna try to end in a timely manner, but there's no real guarantees. What is going on in Trump's chart right now?
Well, I actually compared the moment that the Capitol was breached, his chart on January 6th, and Sunday evening when he supposedly got a target letter. I will tell you that astrologically, yes, he got a target letter.
He's freaking
Mercury,
out.
which rules communications,
Yeah.
right smack on top of his Pluto, hidden dealings, big power, in the 12th house of hidden things and criminality. So, yep, he did in fact get a target letter. And there is illumination coming. There's a huge money aspect to this, an organizational aspect to it. So it's not just that he incited a riot. Nope. Much more than that. Really big, really wide ranging. And the United States Cancer, Mercury, which is how we communicate and our feelings about ourselves as a country, is smack in all of this.
Interesting.
His standing is taking a hit that may not be fully seen until next April. I have mentioned this before. So October is another really big time for this.
Yeah, you've mentioned October a lot.
One thing I found utterly fascinating with what's happening in his chart. Venus in the sky is on his Mars.
Now, so right now?
Venus is like all the relationships. And there is an unbroken flow of fiery energy that ties it into the political battle of January 6th. Mars on that day, the day the Capitol was attacked, Mars was exactly where the north node of the moon is now.
Interesting. Wow.
Okay? And it makes it's a Venus-Mars thing. Venus in the sky currently is on his Mars. Venus at the day of the attack was trining Mars on the day of the attack. This is an unbroken flow. It's called a grand trine. And why am I making such a big deal about this? Because Venus is going retrograde on his Mars.
On the 22nd?
So we're already seeing, she's already crossed over his Mars, and she goes, well, you sit there, turn around. We will be seeing all kinds of stuff from the past. All kinds of stuff from the past.
As soon as you say that, I'm just like, oh, it's slimy, and it's like sludge, and it smells, and it's awful. It's
Oh, no. And it's very dramatic, and a lot of women are involved, and a ton of money is involved. So this is not just someone saying, I'm hanging on to this because I don't want to, no.
Well, there's a grift. There's a grift that, is being investigated. And what about international money? Is that aspected? Do you see that?
Isn't that interesting? I mentioned that Mars, which the warrior planet, was in Aries, the sign of war, at the very end of Aries, where the North Node currently is, on the day that the Capitol was breached, on January 6th.
Right.
In the 9th house of legalities and foreign relations.
Ooh, yes. Do you see an indication that, for entertainment purposes only, that the insurrection happened at with the advice of some foreign enemy and some? Well, let me just give you an example of what I mean. During the Black Lives Matter protests, on the day, I think it was June 1st, 2020, on the day that Trump was in the bunker, and then all of a sudden he decided he was going to go and walk outside and go across the street and hold that Bible upside down, which is a sign of, I won't get into it. Anyway, when he did that, I felt like, for entertainment purposes only, that he was in the bunker downstairs at the White House talking to Putin and asking Putin what he should do. Which also I felt like was the case when he was talking about shooting immigrants who were trying to cross the border in the lake.
I don't have Putin's chart in front of me. I had to make choices, so I haven't looked at it, but I would not argue with that possibility.
Yeah, I feel like so much of what we're seeing is at the direction of our enemies, and it's amazing. It's an amazing thing to watch. We have so much we could talk about. Maybe we can do another show next week. I would love that if we could. So much of what's happening is that I think I was reading something and it was referring to the underinformed American. So much of what's happening, the reason we're in the conundrum that we're in with so many people not knowing what's going on and opting for the conspiracy theorists and QAnon and all that and the MAGA, that whole thing. People need to get to the reality somehow. And I know there's some Neptunian influences that have caused people to be, had an influence on people being more susceptible to conspiracy and the lies and all that. So, and we mentioned in the last show, you mentioned that people would be coming out of this fog. What was that was that something to do with Neptune?
Yeah, Neptune ruled, or was in a, Neptune was in a relationship with eclipses a couple of years back.
Mm-hmm.
That was pumping up all of the obfuscation. It was the fog was really, really huge. And it was also opposing Neptune in the U.S. chart. So there were big things about what is the meaning of, what do we believe? What do we, the U.S. has Neptune in Virgo in the 9th. Virgo supposedly bettering things, but it's also very emotionally detached. Mm-hmm. And it's in the 9th house of foreigners, legal system, belief systems. And with Neptune opposing that, there was like the rise of the evangelicals and unearthing racism, because some people believe that Neptune in Virgo in the 9th house is a signature for racism. So now what do we have going on? We have, oh, racism doesn't exist anymore. Oh, really?
That's unbelievable.
Right. So, yeah. And that's a piece of it. But Neptune is now it's moved away from the exactitude of that triggering. So we're in the waning of its influence in that regard. And what I find fascinating, Saturn, which is the planet of structure, mm-hmm. and rules and adulting, and we've talked about this, is in Neptune's sign of Pisces, mm-hmm. but Saturn and Neptune aren't going to meet while they're both in Pisces. They will not meet until they both move into Aries in, what did I say earlier? The spring of 2025. And so it's the air will clear.
So you said this started about 2 years ago? You said a couple of years ago? The Neptunian, everyone's believing whatever.
Oh, well, no. That's the gullibility business started quite a while back.
Yeah.
Quite a while back.
Decades?
No,
2016?
Really bad starting in 2016. Yeah.
See, there you go. There it is. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, because we need to save ourselves.
Part of it. Brexit was part of it too.
Right? That makes sense. We need to, find a way that we can all agree on one specific reality of what I'm referring to is I use the word reality loosely. What I'm referring to is that we all agree on things like, it boggles my brain, for instance, that how intense of an event the insurrection was. And it just feels like something that we all need to agree on. It happened. And for people to get to a place where they're agreeing, where we're all agreeing on that, it sounds like there's some hope in the stars from what you're saying for that.
Yeah, and as of on the day of the insurrection, the North Node, which is where we were heading, the information it was in the information sign of Gemini, was in the U.S.'s chart in the U.S. chart, Declaration of Independence chart. It was in the house that deals with open enemies, so open information enemies.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that totally
And
makes sense.
Trump's disruptor planet was
Yeah,
right.
the psychological warfare is real, and I'm not just throwing that out there. That's factual. The messing with our social media, and the being masterful at psychologically manipulating people through social media is very much a real thing. So that's
And
how we have
a lot
people
of
in
secrets
cults.
about that, and about what actually happened on January 6th should really, really come to light. Pluto is heading for the degree of where Mercury was on that day. Mercury, which is communication, official communication, governmental
Right.
structure. It's about counting the votes.
Yep.
That's a very Mercury thing, which was also with the degree of the U.S. Pluto. So the U.S. Pluto has one more pass over its home base, and that will be this fall, and that will be on top of Mercury in the capital breach chart. So that tells me a bunch of stuff coming to light, huge stuff coming to light. And also, I have mentioned October, the solar eclipse in Libra in October happens on the moon in the capital breach chart, the moon being the people.
So,
reset,
does it look like what happened on January 6th might be, I don't know if you can see this astrologically, might be the first thing that Trump gets in, real big trouble for?
Well, it's got really intense ties to his chart.
Because I felt like that would be first.
I will not be surprised for a whole bunch of reasons, especially because this information, this target letter came out right when Venus is about to turn retrograde and kick off of his Mars as she does it. So, yeah.
That doesn't sound gentle.
No.
Nothing about that sounds gentle. Do you see from his chart do you see anywhere that is indicative of this whole delusion is just going to kind of disintegrate? For him, you know what I mean? Like the magician and, pulling the wool over people's eyes and being the con artist where it just doesn't work anymore.
I don't, well, it's, again, 2025, I think, is when his being seen as the leader just completely, it goes away. Now, it doesn't mean things will happen between then, but there is something happening in 2025 that's kind of like mowing it down.
Well, that's after the election. So I guess what I'm asking is what everybody wants to know. Do you see anything that indicates he could be victorious in any way?
No, he has a number of markers in his chart for late in life institutionalization, and they're all being triggered right now. Now, everyone goes, I want to see him in jail. That may not be what it is. It could be health related, it could be stuck in a home, but this is someone whose life has been set up from the outset so that his final days will be spent not gallivanting around the world, which is not consistent with being the so-called leader of the free world
True.
again.
Yeah, so confined. I see him confined and
Mhm.
health compromised. That resonates. I really do feel that.
Yeah, and that early 2025 date also really speaks to uh, massive health issues.
So he's not a winner in 2025. He's not like going through life as a winner.
2024? Oh no, I don't see that.
Do you can you see in a chart if somebody's going to lose their mental faculties?
Well, you can certainly see pressures, and there are choices. There are, some of the things that would show that could also indicate being a creative genius. Now,
Right.
you have to go with what has happened in the past. His creativity has been spinning absolute
Being a con.
fluff. Yeah, spinning absolute fluff, and that changes really dramatically. And he's got um, some stuff going on that, just put this in the back of your mind. April of last year, April 2022, is going to end up being important, and something about that ought to come to light very early in December. And it will have to do with grifting and lies and possibly delusional thinking. I don't know, but
I was thinking that the Eileen Cannon that case would go to trial in December. Does that line up?
a lot of that's interesting. That might be what this is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's supposedly, Trump Organization is scheduled to go to trial in New York State in October,
Right.
and that would fit with the solar eclipse hitting his Jupiter in the money house in Libra of agreements. That would fit perfectly with that, and that eclipse is going to smash the what out of his signature for family organizational money and having things from other governments and stuff. So
Right.
that
That's
October, I
October.
clearly see. December might be a little more, who quite knows. Um, the New York criminal proceeding is scheduled in February,
Mm-hmm.
which is an uncomfortable time for a bunch of reasons, additional reasons for him. It, I keep saying it's an Iron Maiden. It's a legal Iron Maiden, and it's
Yeah.
already closing. And when that starts happening, there's no exit.
And how about since we're gonna wind down in a little bit, I wonder if we can do a little lightning round. Kevin
You want to?
McCarthy.
Oh yeah, I knew you were going to ask about him.
I like to go back if something that we were saying, yeah, you definitely June, he's done. If something
Yeah,
just
and
didn't
then
seem
what
to come to
happens?
pass.
Okay, Kevin's got major Saturn issues through the end of the year. He's having his Saturn return, which is when Saturn comes back to where it was when you were born.
Hmm.
And so he has a really tenuous hold on his power right now. And it is going to be tested and challenged again this summer and then again in the fall. Um, and this is when the two before can hit him. There's an eclipse in October right before Halloween that is going to wrap up a whole bunch of things for career with him, home and career, and what he sees his place in the world. So that's another possible time of uh, losing it. And just an aside, because there's one other thing I want to mention, but an aside, uh, that heinous military spending bill with all of the amendments, he
Yeah.
could have passed a clean bill with the votes of Democrats,
Right.
but his loony, I said it, the far right wing in his
They're loony.
caucus would take him out if he did that. So
Right.
he made a
Right.
choice, and I see this as really tenuous. Like Saturn's like, mm-mm-mm. So we have multiple times of, did you do it right? Did you do it right? And his own relationship, his popularity is going to be increasingly taking hits. The other fun thing is Venus retrograde is going to bring a lot of money stuff, money partners, money deals, money stuff.
Yeah, he's
Possibly
probably
even
dizzy. He must be dizzy with all the different
women,
people.
possibly also women.
Oh, interesting. So
Possibly.
he's kind of on his way out. I did hear he said something in response to what happened with Trump today that was I didn't have a lot of time to look at the news yet today, but he said something really outlandish about January 6th. Did you hear that about Trump getting, this target letter? It was like, what? How many convolutions do you have to go through when you're... It's starting to be like the lies are catching up, like they're having to remember what they said months ago, and then, it's really complicated for the MAGA, the ultra MAGA.
Ain't it though?
Yeah, so I wonder if you might not have, but did you look at Tuberville's chart? Were you able to?
Oh, no, I have not done that yet.
So maybe next time, because it's unbelievable what he's doing. When you look at America's chart, I hope you see that we have some semblance of national security right now.
I don't know, but I will change the subject here by saying that a bunch of people who have been in the news have really interesting stuff coming with Venus retrograde. So watch this space for Clarence Thomas.
Ooh.
More dirt about very wealthy hidden partners. We have not seen the end of that. 2 more rounds of that. And welcome to the stage, Brett Kavanaugh. More stuff. Women and money, really big stuff, being part of the Venus retrograde. And he is also undergoing his Saturn return. So the fact, he's been, acting like I'm going to be, a lot of his Supreme Court decisions have been kind of surprising. Like, look, see, I'm being reasonable. Don't throw me off. Well, we'll see.
Right, I know. He's been putting on that front, I noticed.
And guess what? Ginny Thomas, she's in this as well. The Venus retrograde is going to kick off from her Pluto in the house of health. So that could be huge money. It could be being psychologically unstable.
Oh, yeah,
it could be her attraction to power. Who knows? And adding to it, it's going to kick off from Biden's North Node in the 9th house. So we will see legislative stuff. We will see things having to do with foreign countries. We will see things with him overcoming long-standing wounds of self-image. And
good.
I think it'll be very empowering for him and forcing him to come out of the shadows, which might be a very good thing.
Forcing Joe Biden to come out of the shadows, just to be clear. Interesting. I think that we will see a shift where he's going to be Joe Biden's going to be really way more popular than he is now. I just wrote it. I send off emails to MSNBC every single week, I think. But, I just kind of, I was like, are you kidding me? Because they were saying, oh, we don't understand why nobody's talking about Joe Biden. I'm like, well, hello. Why aren't you?
Don't you have a microphone?
Exactly. Isn't that your job? Do your job. So anyway, I think it's really important for us to support the people that support us. So we'll keep on keeping on with helping Biden and anybody else who's helping to save our democracy and save the world from, what. I guess we have to wrap it up, but I'd like to do this again. I do 2 podcasts a month. And it's already, today's the 18th, right? And so we can probably fit in another one if you want.
Oh, I've got plenty of material.
All right. So how to reach you, you can just repeat that.
A bunch of places. Empowermentunlimited.net is my website. I have a weekly podcast, about 10 minutes long, kind of smart ass. I have written and spoken versions of my monthly forecast, new moon, full moon. Those are cross-posted at my YouTube channel, Professional Aquarian. I have a group on Facebook called the Astro Insight Lounge where we talk about astrology in the news. It has a very strong political stance, and all except maybe two people are one of us.
Well, that sounds fascinating.
It's just like
I hope they want democracy.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I have actually had to. It's finally hit. Flame wars have started, but I made it a long time without any. I'm very proud of that. So my Patreon is Patreon/my name, and the small group of people, but we have a monthly Ask Me Almost Anything, and we do like discuss all kinds of levels of astrology.
And what's the one you said was a kind of a smartass one? I
my
like
weekly podcast, which you can actually subscribe to and just have download into your phone.
Oh, okay.
Or you can listen to it on YouTube. You can get it from my website.
Great. That's a lot. Kathy's a lot like me. It's like I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this other thing. And just to tell everyone, my whole thing that I have going on, Psychic News Network, PNN, to find it on YouTube, if anyone's needing to pass on the message of how to reach me, it's at Psychic Annette Dion on YouTube. And I do the Psychic News Network, and I have a Church of Spirituality every single Sunday, live streamed at 1. And I do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday Psychic News Network broadcasts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're both on
Bring
Eastern
watermelon.
Time. Bring watermelon. For some reason, watermelon's a thing now. And yeah, I'm going to bring my watermelon tomorrow. And I may, starting today or starting on Thursday, do short pre-recorded videos answering one or two political questions. I might even squeeze one in today. That's going to be pre-recorded on my videos, not under the live, but under videos. And that's what I have going on. Please book a reading at psychicannetdion.com. And please join Grassroots of Democracy. We meet tonight for our 20 on Tuesdays guided meditation and visualization for a healed America. We need that. Go to grassrootsofdemocracy.com to sign up for our meetings. And with that, thank you, Kathy. It was fascinating, as always. And thank you to Jack Sparrow, the sock monkey, and the regular sock monkey. And I'm going to go hug my sock monkey, too, in honor of the new moon in Cancer and the nurturing sign. Be good to yourselves. And we'll see you next time. Namaste.